A very happy Friday, pre-market prep. Hope everyone is having a nice end of their week here. We have about an hour ago, we had a comment from the Iranian president. We'll get into that about what's going on in the Middle East. Bitcoin last night almost clearing the 80,000 level. Crypto traders' sleepless nights return, ladies and gentlemen. We have options expiration Friday. We'll see how Triple D is positioning ahead of the expiration. DeepSeek challenging Anthropic. A little spook out there in the market? Question mark. We'll consider this. We got last night an interview with the Micron CEO on Mad Money. We're going to get into that a little bit. We are in a market, ladies and gentlemen, where Moderna is one of the hottest stocks out there. We'll see how shares responded yesterday and are responding here today into the last trade session of this week. We had earnings last night from Ross Stores, this morning, BJ's. We will preview fees STN calendar for next week. Our guest at 8:35 a.m. Eastern Time, Mish Schneider, Chief Strategist over at MarketGauge. We are excited to see how Mish has been. Let's get it going here, folks, on Friday's edition of Pre-Market.
The volatility right now is really incredible.
Wow, look at that consolidation on the upper right chart.
You know what we've seen this earnings season? Some of these expected moves get even more violent. This is why I have switched my strategy 10 years ago. And if you're chasing, you're in trouble.
All right, good morning, traders and investors. We are looking at the dark mode version of our TradeStation charts here this morning. Born to trade, chart, analyze, customize, all in one platform. Thank you, TradeStation, for sponsoring our charts here on Pre-Market Prep. We have S&P 500 futures trading up about 0.4% around the 76.94 level. Let's click over to let's do Bitcoin here. Why not? Let's start with Bitcoin after our S&P 500 futures. IBIT trading around the $41 level here, trading up about 5% this morning. Let's do crude oil and the USO trading up about 0.5%. As I mentioned, we did get a headline updating the story on the Middle East about an hour ago, a little under an hour ago. We'll get to that in a few. Let's do gold GLD shares. Excuse me. GLD is an ETF trading up almost 2% here this morning, 415 on the GLD. Let's do SLV silver here this morning, right around 2% higher with gold, and one more here, TLT. See how our interest rate complex is doing this morning, about unchanged. Let's bring in Triple D to the stage. Dennis, how is your morning going so far?
It's going okay. I've had a rough month here. I've been shopped around. This has been a choppy month. I mean, this has been the month of like fade trade, the month of contrarianness, the month where, it seems like we've got a direction. Oh no, we're going to go the other way. Oh, it seems like we got, a little bit of self. Oh no, we're going to rally. It's been a very choppy month, and it's been, no follow through, not a lot of volume. One of the S&Ps the other day was one of the lowest volume days in years. This is August.
Yeah.
This is what the dog days of August all about. So I'm looking forward to getting back into September, getting into some trades where, you get some follow through. But, in crypto, if we want to start right there, Brentster, we have had follow through in crypto here for a few days here now. IBIT up again here. This has been a big move in Bitcoin here. So we've been saying contrarian move. That's not been the case with crypto here. This is a 3-day move here now. We're looking at IBIT at 43.45. And I mean, Bitcoin itself rallying too. And just when you think Bitcoin's ready to roll over and die, head and shoulders, people talking about, goes the other way. Trump stirring night stuff. You've got to listen to the news, because the technical analyst will have you some reason. The reason that this got kickstarted was 100% Donald Trump.
Donald Trump and the administration wanting to focus on crypto on Wednesday. And since then, yes, Trump got it going, but I do think that there are some notable technicals in play here that are propelling Bitcoin, like when, the price action around 70,000 in Bitcoin. I mean, that was started from Trump, but Trump didn't say anything right then. So I hear you on, we got to listen to the news. I'm also like, I do think there are actually some technicals here in Bitcoin that people are really focused on.
Well, there always is technicals. We're not saying technicals don't exist. We're saying what really kickstarts moves, though, isn't the technicals. It's usually a
Catalyst.
catalyst, a news.
100%.
And then it
Yep.
could get going. So I always say you use technical analysis as your tool to get an idea where stocks are going. Look at levels like Joel does. Look at, that you can look at, possibilities, and obviously, you're looking at the 90-day. I'm often looking at where do you think this is going? I mean, if we bring up Bitcoin here, MSTR2, we can bring up any of these here, like
Yeah.
Coinbase maybe. So even start with Coinbase,
Okay,
which
sure.
is a big mover here too, because this is a good one here. So you've moved, from this whole consolidation area. Look how much consolidation there was. Like we talking in August, this thing was between 145 and like 150 for like 12 days. Like just sitting down there, we're looking at that little bottom part, just doing nothing right in there. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then we break out. Well, you got that pesky July high going Joel Elconin, Technical Analysis 101. Even going back to April, you had good support at 180. You broke through it. You came back retesting July at 180, failed. Now you're coming up and kissing it again. Well, I mean, 180 has been resistance for a while here. So this is a logical sell point here now. So, I mean, we just look, at levels like this, and, it does work. Joel Elconin levels 101 is one of the best technical analysis tools that I use. I actually always say, support, resistance, trends, 50% retracements, what I like on my, technical analysis. But I mean, just levels in general. That's what that is all about. Support and resistance is about levels. And, you pop in, you look at these levels. I mean, you're coming into a resistance point here. So we're not saying technical analysis doesn't work. We're saying it usually doesn't kickstart a move. Trumpster kickstarted this move.
Totally, for sure. And if you are ready to move away from crypto now, Triple D.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go. We can go wherever you want to go.
I just wanted to highlight this move right here. This move right here was a headline from the Iranian president that said the nation Iran should end the war now while it is still in a position of strength. That is why we had SP 500 futures moving higher right here.
Popping up.
That is why we had oil moving lower. I got to change my.
Yes. And oil, and again, oil's had such a tremendous move here as well. We're back up near the highs too. So I mean, if you're coming in and buying oil stocks now, this is a good, exercise here too. I mean, the Exxon Mobil's back near the highs, Chevron's back near the highs. I mean, you're chasing it now. Like look at Chevron from July when everybody was saying, oh, the war was over 164 to 205. So I mean, again, it's just about somewhat, like this, all about chasing in this market, and chasing just hasn't worked. So we're coming all the way back up here now. Now you're coming back up here. Look at the levels. I mean, you're back up here in this 205, 210, where we got back to in April. So now you come to a natural resistance point again. It may take it out. It may go higher, but that's going to depend on the next headline here as well. But, and oil is very headline dependent. The one exception has been Valero. Valero has been unbelievably. We know the refiners are just killing it, making so much money. I mean, this chart does not look like any others. MPC, other refiner, obviously, same type of deal here, Brentster. And then, what's the other one? Third one, MPC. It's too early in the morning for me. I can't think. Valero, MPC. I'm up all night trading crypto. Valero, MPC, and PSX. PSX, the other one. The big 66. Three on the refiners. They all look the same. You can piston trade these things together all you want. These three move together, and these have been big moves. But again, these moves are so overextended now.
Yeah.
You're coming in buying Valero now. You need a dip. Wait for a dip. This is the market that seems to always give you another chance. It's not the market we're in 2020 where stocks are just going and they're going to go relentlessly and never pull back. This is a market that gives you second chances. No point to chasing stocks that have run 30, 40, 50% in a matter of, basically a couple of weeks here. These are big moves here, which brings us back to Moderna, which we should probably just tie in with the Moderna conversation here too.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a contrarian market, and everybody's like, yeah, Moderna, people were even fighting me. I was saying, well, this could, it's a big move. Probably going to have a little bit of a dip afterwards. And, maybe you love the story. Maybe you love the fact that mRNA is back cool again. Maybe you love the fact that they're trying to do, obviously help cancer patients here, which is awesome. But it goes up 200% a day. Probably going to have a little bit of a sell-off. And I love that your chart shows the after-hours action because we got up to 194 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Dipped down to 130 last night. So you're talking about a 64-point decline, a 30% fall. Moderna is officially in a bear market if you use all that, terminology, 20% off the highs. Now that's silliness.
That's funny
Obviously,
to
it's
think
in a
about.
bear market, but it's
Right.
showing you again, even in the case of the strongest stock, it doesn't pay to chase. You've got the dip. Now, if you want to come in Moderna, I can set up a trade for you here right now. If you want to buy it this morning, I'm long a little bit of Moderna just in the day trading account. So I will be getting out of that today. You can look at it 114, the low of the move. That would be your stop up point. You definitely don't want to see it take out the low of the move, which was 2 days ago here. So if you're coming at 135, that's a 20 points. It's a long ways away. I'd love it back in the 120s, but I'm not sure you get there because I think there will be more people coming into this. I do think the path of least resistance could end up being higher here. I think it's going to have trouble filling that gap with so much, potential there. But, we've seen this market before. We're in August, which is a contrarian month, so it's hard to chase stuff.
And the low of the move, you said 114, right? I mean, that's right around here. It was just the opening print.
Yeah, exactly. The opening print that day where everybody says, this is silly, man, it's too much. And then it goes 190 the next day or that night, which is crazy. And I mean, the juice stocks, you can look at these too. Obviously,
wow.
You never want, a stock that's going to fall, 51% a day because then the juice would be gone.
What's the juice on MRN up?
Is it MRNX? Yeah.
MRNU? MRNX. Should I even
juice.
show this on screen? The Defiance Daily
These are
Target.
scary, man. Look how big these moves are, though. But you want the juice? You got the juice. There's juice on all these things. I don't invest in these things because if anything falls 51%, intraday, it's game over. You lose all your money. Where you still got the common, you're down half, but you're going to get your money. It can bounce back here. So I don't like the juice stocks, really investing in them, but they're tradable. They're trading vehicles, and that's what they are.
We had some of our smart community members in the SCN think tank yesterday just pointed out that this stock and Tempest AI, TEM, there was one other one that had high short interest. So kind of asking, okay, how much of this move higher was actually buying versus short covering, which I think is a good answer. I think is a good question to ask. In all of this, we have built a little bit of a mRNA watch list that we've been tracking the last few days.
Let's see that watch list.
And I will put that on screen in just a sec here. But one that I wanted to point out from yesterday, we found this one a couple of days ago, ARCT. And then yesterday, the one that went was MRVI, Maravay Life Sciences. Look at that. Look at that chart.
It's ignited a lot of the mRNA plays. I recently bought Novavax here too, just because I feel like it hasn't gone yet. Maybe, there's the potential. It's completely spec. I actually own MRVI too. That's been a spec as well. I think there's a place for speculation in your portfolios. Just got to size it accordingly, knowing that when you're buying smaller companies like this, they can go to zero. Obviously these aren't blue chip investments here, but I think there's a place for specs. I own MRVI and NVAX in my long-term accounts. And if mRNA technology is starting to obviously, if AI is going to help it, and that's the one thing, the conversation here is why did Tempest AI go up so much? Because there's rumors that Moderna's, cancer drug was very much helped by AI. I mean, this is what we've been talking about.
Tempest is like a healthcare data.
Yeah, TEM.
Yep.
So, and it took off here too on this. I mean, this is where we are. I mean, we can keep saying, well, we want to stop talking about AI. But the biggest moves are happening because of AI. Even the Moderna move was because of AI. Right. Now. So, I mean, this is just, the world we're in. And obviously, corporate efficiency, which you can talk about. We've talked about, always think about efficiency as, we can fire a few people. We'll make better margins on that. Well, this corporate efficiency is just making the people working in the lab more efficient. So, I mean, you don't have to fire anybody. Maybe it's a fact that, everybody's calling for the major layoffs, which I thought might happen too. May not happen. Just be companies get more efficient and make more money. That's your bull scenario, folks. Your bull scenario to take us to S&P, another, 50% up from here. It's all built on AI efficiency, not on layoffs. Because if you start getting massive layoffs, who's buying stuff? It's built on that. We won't need to lay anybody off because all these companies are going to make a lot more money because their employees are so much more efficient. That's what it's built on. Mish is here too, and I want to bring her into this conversation. Obviously, good friend of the show for a very long time. Let's go grab Mish Schneider. Are you ready, Mish? She's sitting in the background here. If she's ready, we'll just let her get her camera. She's nodding that she's ready. She's always ready. Let's go get Mish Schneider.
All right, cool.
Hey.
Hi, Mish. Good morning. How's your week going? How's your day going?
Well, the day you are the start of my day.
Well, that is
Well,
nice.
that's nice to hear.
Yeah. And yeah, it's been a very interesting year. And happily, all the experience that we've had at MarketGauge with understanding, following things simple like sector rotation and understanding phases and momentum and leadership has really made this year pretty, I don't want to say easy, but obvious.
It, it's been
Obvious.
it's been the year we were just making this conversation here. I mean, it's been the year of AI, but everybody thinks of the Microns and the SanDisks and the Nvidias and the AMDs. But we're starting to move into other spaces here, and I've been arguing for a while that XBI is an AI play because it's going to make these labs more efficient. The person who's doing the studies can use AI to probably simulate like things so much quicker. Like you just think about simulation and what they can do. And I mean, we get the Moderna move, and then we find out later in the day that this AI helped them. That we're talking
Exactly.
about AI helping Moderna here. I mean, this is, all of a sudden everybody's waking up that why is the drug so strong? Like, why does XLV have this relentless bid? Why does XBI have this relentless bid? And it's like, ding, ding, ding. This is AI as well. There could be an argument that AI could eventually be in everything here, and maybe it makes everyone more efficient. And maybe the S&Ps do continue. Maybe the bulls are right, and we're just going to continue to have this, utopian society where AI makes everything better for everyone in the world and nobody loses their job. Is that possible?
Well, that's certainly, as you just said, the utopian side of things. There's also always the dystopian side of things, which we can get into. Sometimes if you just let things be, they're better off. But we have had a lot of other issues around this. If we had just really stuck to what we do best, which is innovate in this country and not try to
Sure.
do so many other things around the world, I think, in hindsight, we could say we'd be much better off and the market might even be much better off. But to answer your question we have a guy working for us, Alan Friedman, Dr. Alan Friedman, and he was a biotech teacher, professor at Purdue. And he's now working with us for the last several years in AI. And he's been telling us for years now, buy Tempest, buy Replimune, well, he never really particularly said Moderna. That was like, I think, the surprise from everyone. In fact, if you looked at the chart the day before the announcement on the melanoma vaccine, it looked pretty awful. So that was just one of those things. You had to be
Yeah.
lucky. But the overall space, just exactly what you said, Dennis, the innovation coming through AI is just begun. And I think that to me is exciting on so many levels. We know that there's been a lot of skepticism about the whole health care space and particularly big pharma space and keeping us unhealthy, treating symptoms as opposed to treating the actual disease. And if that's starting to shift because they realize they can make money that way too, well, then, of course, then we certainly have a better mankind. Of course, that also leaves out all the people who can't afford healthcare. That's a whole other conversation.
We got some
Oh,
talking points here, Mish, that you've sent along here, and I'm just
Yeah.
bringing them up there right now. Actually,
okay.
trying to find them. They say
We
they're
we
pinned,
didn't.
but I can't find them, Brent. You said they're
That's okay.
pinned.
We haven't got to Ross Stores yet, Mish, but
Oh,
I
there it
think
is.
that you
Right.
probably will want to talk about Ross Stores shares here trading up like $50. And we had the report from Walmart earlier this week that the guidance didn't look the hottest. So we have a little bit of a dichotomy here, a Ross Stores versus a Walmart. Do you make anything of this?
Well, essentially, I mean, I think we really have to step back even before we talk about specific earnings in the
Okay.
retail space. And that, of course, is what's happening with inflation. And that's really an impact on Walmart versus, let's say, Ross. Ross has some type of pricing power because essentially what it does is it sells everything really cheap, clothes. And, of course, we can have about the whole China conversation, but a lot of the stuff that they have in there comes from China, which is
Yeah.
why it's been able to stay cheap. And you don't go to Ross to buy food, although they do have a pretty good houseware department, just saying. And as you're getting ready to check out, there's all these little goodies along the way, but that's not what it's known for, right? People go
Yeah.
in there because they can buy designer brand stuff really, really cheap. And so this is exactly, now we're in a seasonal point where people are out shopping because we're about to go from summer into fall, back to school, etc. And I go into Ross a lot. In fact, I'll proudly say this blouse I'm wearing is from Ross.
Very nice.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a designer and Klein blouse that I probably paid $12.99 for.
Nice, yeah.
And it doesn't even matter how much money you have. Everybody loves a bargain.
Yeah, that's for
So,
sure.
yeah, exactly. So I think that's what Ross is reflecting, the last of the consumer area that's still strong, which has to do with cheap fashion. Probably we could even relate that back to what's my famous expression, guys? Vanity trade, right? So, these people, and more people have been jumping on the bandwagon of the diet drugs. And if you're going to buy new clothes and you think you might change your size again, you're going to go to a store like Ross. So that is,
Wow.
yeah, that is, and socioeconomically, a lot of people from every socioeconomic bracket shop at Ross. I see billionaires in there, and then I
Sure.
see people who live in mobile homes and everything in between.
Which brings us to TJX, because TJX got hammered on its earnings. And I mean, Ross Stores, TJX, these are all cut from the same cloth. Burlington as well, BURL. Seems like every time TJX pulls back, 10, 15, 20% from the highs, it's just always another buying opportunity here. And this is a serious pullback for TJX. It was $170 at an all-time high back about a month and a half ago. We're down at 140 here right now. Is this a stock you would be buying on the dip, just trying to look for dip buying opportunities?
No.
No, okay.
No, because this is exactly how we started this conversation. If you want to watch sector rotation and you want to buy things that have best momentum, best phase, and best signs of leadership versus the SPY, which is the benchmark we use, this
Okay.
isn't one of them. I'm a great bottom picker, as we know, and I've done really, really well this year. But I bought bottoms of things strategically because I thought the mega theme that was involved with it was something that was really going to continue to evolve. Some of it I got lucky, and some of it, obviously, I also know when I'm wrong, I get out. I don't
Yeah.
see the great mega trend right now in a TJ Maxx, and even Ross rally could be short lived. It's
Okay.
just sort of interesting to step back and see what's happening in the retail space. But right there, you go. You just put up my dear old granny. Now, this thing made new all time highs not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago.
Sure.
And I was thinking to myself, this was a head scratcher. Like, really? I mean, everybody I know who talks about shopping is talking about how expensive things are and how they're cutting back. And yet I see XRT flying. So I'm like, I did not get into this, nor would I get into this. But now we're seeing more of a reality. But you have these beautiful triple bottoms, actually quadruple bottoms. If you go down to the bottom of that chart,
Oh,
look at
yeah,
those
sure.
triple bottoms there, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of support. So if I were looking to buy a dip on something, I would see if XRT can, number one, hold its 50-day moving average, which comes in around 86, and it's trading a little higher than that now based on the Ross earnings. And number two is if it breaks the 50-day moving average, what happens at the 50-week moving average? That chart's really interesting. Can you change this to a weekly time frame,
Sure.
please?
Yeah.
Can you throw a 50 in there, or?
I am not that great with the TradeStation yet.
Maybe we could find it.
Let me see if I can
We
find
can
it.
envision it.
Yeah.
Like a little
Yeah.
Believe me, so much of trading is being able to visualize things, to be able to take those patterns that you see and then make assumptions on emerging patterns as a result. I mean, I think that's really been one of my strengths in trading, is that I can see into the patterns and predict what's happening
For
there.
sure.
Yeah, but okay. So let me do this for you then. I won't show it, but I'll just look at a similar chart that I have here of XRT, just so I can speak
Yeah, if you've got your
authority here.
Brent's just getting up in the background here too. We're putting him
Cool.
under,
Right. So it's
under the
underneath.
gun here.
Right.
He's figuring it out.
So the 200-day moving average, by the way, comes in around 85, and we've already broken down under the 50-day. So this goes back to my original statement, right? In terms of sector rotation, we see money coming out of the retail sector. It is underperforming the S&P 500, and the momentum is also declining. So this would not necessarily be tempting. However, if you go out a little bit, and people have been talking about this, I've heard on the media, and I've been talking about it too. We've basically been sort of sideways in a trading range in a lot of these sectors and
Yeah.
in the indices,
Yes.
really going back almost a year ago, more than a year ago. And certainly Granny is part of that. So if we looked at what was happening in May, June, July, it was trading down at around 78. And we've made higher lows since then. And the 50-week also comes in around that 85, which makes sense, right? The 200 comes in around day 85, the 50-week, because it's about the same kind of time frame. So that gives you a thought in this kind of market where there's still optimism, and we could talk about what would ruin that optimism. But when there's still some relative optimism, the buy opportunity would come to me if we can hold the 50-week moving average. But if it doesn't, then not only do you have to get out of this, but you have to really kind of rearrange your mindset about what the market in terms of equities are going to do over the next quarter.
What would ruin it? You mentioned it, so now I want to know what would ruin this.
Okay, what would ruin it?
Yeah,
Okay.
you got me sitting on the edge of my chair. I want to know now.
I feel like I should make a list here, but right. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the first thing on the list: trifecta of inflation. That's something, by the way, if you Google trifecta of inflation, you will see different parameters that I like to use, right? I'm a trader. So my trifecta of inflation comes from actual trading experience, having lived through the last period of hyperinflation. I won't say what year that was. But whatever, the thing is we have to look at three things right now. And a lot of people who are watching commodities or in commodities predict that we are just getting started in this cycle. So if you want to talk about sector rotation, that's something we can take a look at. Something like a DBA, for example, in the agricultural space, or if you just want to look at some of the Bloomberg indices when it comes to commodities. But number one is the dollar. So right now, the dollar isn't doing that much, right? But we can see that it kind of topped out. And so people are talking about the debasement trade and what happened this week with Besson and the bonds and the fact that we have a lot of foreign countries not buying our dollar. Of course, I always say now, in fact, Christine Lagarde came out and said, the old way for Europe is over dependence on the US. Forget it. We can't do that anymore. We can't count on them. You know, these are all things that could be very potentially more negative for the dollar. And the chart is sloppy, but I just looking at it from pure numbers, under 100, that's kind of weak, under 98, weaker still. But what we don't want to see is a dollar really going down much more. Doesn't mean that the dollar has to crash for my trifecta of inflation. I'm sorry, I'm very fidgety here. I'm trying to be fidgety. My caffeine's kicking in. But it does mean that if the dollar stays under pressure, we already know we've lost so much purchasing power with the dollar. And secondly, and even more importantly, conversation about going back to Besson and bonds is how do you get out of ridiculous amounts of debt and debt payment as you inflate your way out. And of course, if you inflate your way out, basically the consumer winds up paying the debt because we can just buy a whole lot less with that dollar. So that's trifecta number one. Watch the dollar. Doesn't have to crash, but you don't want to see it really strong if you're looking at an inflation scenario. Number two, of course, is my other favorite I talk about all the time, which is the gold to silver ratio. And people say to me, well, is gold just a hedge for inflation? No, of course not. Gold has been popular for quite a while now, the last couple of years, because it also is a safety play. So we have a double-edged thing for gold. We're seeing gold go up as a safety play. We're also seeing gold go up in the fear of the fact that whatever Besson did this week probably wasn't enough. And if they keep goosing the market with more bond buying and depreciation of the dollar, it's more inflationary. So we've got both. But how it relates to silver is where the rub comes in. And silver at gold ratio has been all over the map. In 1980, it was down to 25. That's when we saw silver go to 50, gold go to 850. Now it's really in the mid 60s here. And so essentially what we're saying right now is if this gold to silver ratio starts to crash, what I mean is how many times more is gold trading than silver in terms of price? Is it 80 times more, 70 times more, 60 times more? Right now we're between 60 and 70. If that starts to crack and silver starts to get bid relative to gold in that ratio, inflationary, because silver is an inflationary metal. It's not a flight to safety.
That's
Right?
All
interesting.
right, that
I've
was
never even heard
2.
that. So that was really good.
So,
Well, you got a third one? What's
Yeah,
the
third
third
one.
one?
We still have
my this is my Monica. This is sugar, right? So put up a sugar chart or a cane chart.
well, how do I do that, Mish? What
Just go
What
CANE. That would make it real.
CANE? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
we'll make it simple on us
Awesome. I
equity
like that. I
traders.
like simple.
simple.
Okay.
Oh, I'm all about keeping it simple. I've had a great year because I've kept it really super simple.
Nice.
That's the way. This is the
Love
way.
it.
Yeah. All right. So why? There you go. That looks more like a cane chart. I was like, what were you showing before? So now look at the bottoms in this, by the way, in sugar.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. All right. Okay. And now you're through all that resistance that you see, that top that we kind of made in March, April. We got through that. So there's your support right now. But more importantly, why is sugar my third trifecta of inflation? 2 reasons. One is sugar gets going, and it's historically went going in 76 after the oil embargo, then again in 79, 80 when inflation and Jimmy Carter was really happening. And it really hasn't done all that much. We've had a couple of spikes here and there. COVID, actually, sugar went up to 28 cents a pound. That's been the last high. But it always starts, or generally starts, with crop deterioration. And there's 2 types of sugar, by the way: cane sugar, which is what this represents, and beet sugar, which is what grows in Russia. So you'll have to watch crop conditions, because obviously with drought that we've been seeing, and Santa Fe's on fire, by the way. I can't even go outside right now. The smoke is so bad.
Oh,
And
dang.
that's happening everywhere around the world right now. And also then you have these insane floods. I don't know if you saw Edinburgh, but in Scotland, that thing just like went underwater. So when you have these kind of weather issues, that's where you're going to reflect in cane. But more importantly is the socioeconomic impact of rising sugar prices, because sugar is in everything, like a staple like rice. People buy sugary things because they're cheaper. If anything's cheap these days. And thirdly, it's what people reach for when they're in a state of dystopian, going back to that word. So there's my trifecta. And right now we've got them all pretty much lined up. Nothing out of control yet, but we could be going in that direction.
I mean, also obviously we've got to be watching the bonds. We had, this big, Fed going to come in. We seem to be defending the bond market now because the bond's been like a 3-year bear market here, and TLT just continued going down, trying to make new lows. We bounced for a day. So, and then we kind of gave it back yesterday, half of it anyways. Is this just, because if long-term rates continue to go higher, that's going to start to eventually impact the economy. It's just inevitable here. So at a certain point in time, rates are going to matter. We know they've ignored long-term rates for a while. The stock market continues to go up here. But I mean, what's going to stop, long-term rates from continuing to rise here, Mish?
Well, a couple of things. Number one is the rates. Yes, you're right. That is such an important thing. And we haven't even talked about oil, by the way. That's a whole other X factor.
Yeah, for sure.
And clearly we can see oil is not going down anytime soon. It had its dip. And that was it. That was the great buy opportunity at $67, $68 a barrel. Now we're up at what, $85 to $87 a barrel. We start getting back over 95 to 100. We have that bond conversation even more so than we're already having it. So, going to the bonds, there's 2 ways to look at the bonds. Number one is the fact is that our debt is crazy, right? We're spending $1 trillion a year just on debt payment. And that's without any improvements to society or the economy. That's just paying back a debt.
Yeah.
And so for higher rates, it's even more stressful to pay down that interest payment. So that's number one. Number 2 is obviously higher rates have had an impact on the housing market, on the job market, on manufacturing. It has impact. And thirdly, obviously, what you could see what happened when he did the bond buyback, which, by the way, $4 billion is like nothing. It sent gold and silver and all the commodities flying. So lower interest rates at this point would be perceived as super inflationary, hence going back to that trifecta. So the Fed is not in a good position right now. We've been saying that for years, but this is probably more more tentative than they've ever been, especially since Besson kind of took over for Warsh and made that decision from the Treasury Department as opposed from the Federal Reserve. And secondly, if we do get oil out of control and we do start to see all the trifecta indicators that I'm talking about start to put the numbers back up to 4, 5, 6% in terms of inflation numbers, the Fed will be forced to raise. And there's two ways. There's one way to get yourself out of debt is to inflate your way out. Another way is to put yourself into a major recession. And I'm actually more in the possible recession camp for 2027 than anything else. I think hyperinflation can lead to recession pretty quickly because then the Fed would be forced to go higher with the rates.
Sure. Mish, we got a a 5-pound tip here for you to show us your mug again, if you will kindly.
A scorpion.
Lovely.
Oh, awesome. That's a fun mug right there.
Very Santa Fe kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, I got this in Madrid, which is spelled like Madrid. You know, it's a fantastic. I mean, this holds a mug of coffee. Since astrological sign is Scorpio, so this is
nice, perfect for you.
I'm in Aries. I have my Ram mug, but today I decided to drink a little bit of Scorpion, knowing.
So you mix it up with your coffee mugs.
Yeah,
that's good. So nice. Besides oil, which we certainly can talk about, but I feel like you like some other ways to play the energy space. What else besides oil are you looking at here right now?
I know that I've said this 100 times already, but I still think that natural gas is stupid cheap. I mean, it's just stupid cheap, especially relative to the rest of the board in commodities right now. So I was playing Boyle, but Boyle is so volatile. I decided to go for UNG, so I see you have an UNG chart there.
Cool.
And what I've already accumulated a position in UNG this week, as a matter of fact. And it's because a couple of things. One is Elon Musk announced that they were going to use natural gas as a source of energy, which makes sense, especially since he's in Texas, where there is a lot of natural gas. So we have a potential reason to see more demand other than the normal demand factors like weather. Obviously, when we have freezing temperatures, natural gas goes up. When we have boiling temperatures, natural gas goes up. And there is a tremendous amount of supply, but I think that this could be an attractive alternative besides alternative energies, by the way, and we can talk about that. But if you look at the chart, you see those two bottoms that we had in 26 so far. The one was right in the beginning of the year, and then right here. And then if you move over to the one that was more like in May. So we're today, if you look at that number, it's around 1010, right?
Yeah.
So it's been up and down around that 10 level. We got down to like 960 or something like that. In terms of the price of natural gas, it's at 265, 270. Now it's back over 280. I think if we can get back here over $3 in the futures, which would put this probably back over around 1020, 1025, 1030. We've now shown that we can get back through those bottoms that we had and have another rally. How big a rally? I don't know. That I'm not going to make a prediction, but I do feel that we could at least maybe get back up to $12, $13, $14 in UNG, which would mean that natural gas would probably get up to around $4 or $5. And that would still be cheap relative to oil.
Sure.
Is this a seasonality trade for you? Like, obviously, as we end summer, get into fall, you start seeing, obviously, then you get into winter. You know, like UNG, do you play this? Like, do you watch the seasonals on this?
I do a little bit, yeah. But sometimes they can surprise you on the seasonals, like I said, when it becomes more of a choice. I mean, it just makes so much sense for the United States to be looking at natural gas. And I don't want to get into all the environmental stuff. Leave that for the people who love to argue. Yeah. I'm just looking at it from a pure commodity standpoint. With Elon Musk saying it only reinforced what I thought. This is a cheap source of energy that we have plenty of in this country. And if we're trying to completely get away from oil at some point, which I think we probably will in the future, natural gas is a good way to start. Is it clean? No. But is it cleaner than Oil, yes. And then, of course, that leads me to what's even cleaner than that. And so I'm also long uranium.
Okay.
I've been long uranium now for about a month. I got into it low. Again, thought it was undervalued when it was trading down URA at around 38. It's now around 44. It's kind of sitting there. But I could say that if it gets back up through 45, 46, oh, there's your uranium chart.
Hmm.
You know, you've got that big topping action there, but you also have lots of bottoming. So it's a sloppy chart. So you just got to look at pure price. And if we can get through the recent highs that we've just had on this move up, which is, I think, about 45, 46, I don't see any reason why uranium. I think that Oklo is another one that's been ridiculously cheap.
Sure.
I mean, a Constellation Energy is a very hard stock to trade because it's
Yeah, it
so,
is choppy.
it's choppy.
It's
It's
too
volatile.
utility. Like we analyze this. I own Constellation Energy. I think it's a great company. It's just trading. It's a little bit tougher. But when we analyzed, I think we were looking at Brentster, and it's only about 18 to 20% natural, or 18 to 20% nuclear. It's
Right.
mostly a utility. So I mean, it moves. If you look at CEG and the XLU, they kind of go together because it's just fully like a utility company. It's what it is. But it's not a pure nuclear play like some of these other ones, like that you just mentioned.
Right. So I like uranium because I like commodities. So I like to go right for the actual
Sure.
commodity. But SMR is another one. It's a small stock, but it's small modular reactors. It's a direct play into any kind of potential development of nuclear energy. Look at that. I mean, it's dead. So you have certainly not missing any boats on this, and I'm not
Hmm.
necessarily saying buy it here, but you certainly have a minimal risk if it can clear again this recent congestion that we see, probably at around what is that number 10? Yeah, maybe through 10. It kind of shows that it's got some strength, whatever
Yep.
that number is up there that
Yeah.
you've got.
10. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean these things have been killed because they don't make money, and obviously, they're on the hopes of making money eventually. Oklo, SMR, and then NNE. I kind of group them all together here, but these stocks have been rocked. I mean, if we are entering a period where it looks like the market wants to try to go higher here, maybe some of these beaten down former Momo names here could reignite.
Well, especially if you have a macro story to them. And the macro story is that some really brilliant minds are out there looking at nuclear energy. It has improved tremendously from, the 3 Mile Island days, although people still have that black mark on the whole space. But it's the cleanest energy. I mean, here in New Mexico, we have thermal energy, which you want to talk about an untapped energy source, but that's so far down the line. I had a whole conversation with a gentleman about graphene. I mean, graphene basically led one little teeny pinpoint of graphene can power the whole world. That's what people say. But there's no money in it right now, and this gentleman who is a billionaire that I spoke to at a party, the last conversation I expected to have a cocktail party was about graphene. But he was so fascinating, and he said if I were 20 years younger, I'd be investing in every company that's dealing with graphene, and mostly it's Israeli companies right now. So I'm just going to put that out there for the younger people. So anyway, getting back, you got to look at solar, tan. Let's take a look at a tan chart.
Okay.
Sure,
What right now? What are we
we've been
hearing?
killed.
Yeah, we're hearing from the Trump administration. With EVs, maybe I need to bring those incentives back because people don't want to buy gas guzzler cars when the price of oil is so high. So you want to look at some of the EVs. I mean, Rivian has been like every time it gets to 14, you buy it. Every time it gets to 20, you sell it.
Yeah,
But if you just look at the ETF of solar, it doesn't look like much right now. But oh, good. Okay, you showed a weekly chart. You have really right. You have some pretty good support around 45. I don't know. These are the kinds of things that I'm thinking about more for September as opposed to like getting into any of this right now, especially since I want to see what happens with the direction of the overall market. Right now, we've seen some breakdowns in transportation. We've seen breakdowns in granny retailers. We saw breakdown even in regional banks starting to break down the things that were doing well, small caps still doing well, but they're all still above their 50-week moving average. So I'm not worried yet about some big major correction. But that big major correction, of course, will probably bring most things down. Commodities will outperform. And then at that point, I think we can really start accumulating things that I really like for the future, like robotics. I'm still really interested in actuators, which are the actual arm stuff that happens in the robots. You know,
What's
China's
your actuator play? I want to hear this one.
Yeah.
Do you have an actuator
That's what
play,
I was
or
going
is
to
there
ask
one
you.
out there?
actuator play. Let me actually, what I did was I mean,
Actually,
Actuator.
yes, let me see if I can find this because what I did was I had did a whole
it's fun.
research project for this, and now I've got to find my actual picks.
Okay.
I don't want to just say things without reading. I know
That's good.
Moog is one. Moog was one, but there was more. I have to do it.
MOOG.
MOOG. I don't think that's the stock symbol for it though.
Okay. See if I can go find it.
I'm going to find it right now while we're talking here because robotics. I did it for Fox. Actually, Fox. I'm going on Fox in September in the studio, and the one thing that Charles Payne wanted me to ask about. Here we go. Is what do I think about robotics? And that's what got me really thinking.
Looking this way.
Yeah, like okay, Charles is thinking about it. Uh,
Is it this one? Dan Snipes is saying the Moog A, the Moog A and the Moog B.
Yeah, it's Moog A and Moog B, but there's
Okay.
more. There's more. I have to find the notes. I thought
All good.
Oh, it's okay.
All
yeah.
good, Mish.
We'll come back to
you
you.
can
We'll
owe
come
us.
back to
Yeah.
you on this. When
Yeah,
you
that's
tweet it
I'm not
at us,
doing
we'll let you
anything
know.
I'm not doing anything in this space right now. I can tell you
Okay.
that. So right, we can come back in September and
Yeah.
we can do a show on robotics, and then
Oh.
I'll have everything right at my fingertips. You know, I
Good.
have a lot in my mind, as you well know, but can't remember every single thing that I do.
We wouldn't expect you to, Mish.
I
Well,
expect
Mish, thanks for going over a little over time with we've been on the line with you for like a half hour. That's
It's been
awesome that
awesome.
you wanted to join us for so long. So appreciate that, Mish.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. I'm happy to come on the show. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I definitely wanted to say before I left. Oh, let's talk about tokenization, right? Because I'm
Yep.
also long Circle, PayPal, and I've been in those stocks now for a while. I'm really starting to see some money in there. Obviously, crypto has taken off. So there's a classic. Let's go back to sector rotation, and we'll end there where I
Okay.
started.
Okay.
Let's go back to where
I
we're
like it.
going. If you look at IBIT, there.
Okay.
Circle is up at around 85, 86 this morning before it opened. What is it? I don't have
Let's
my glasses.
see.
It's
It
trading up
says
5%
80.
this morning.
It
Yeah.
says
88 and a half.
88.50. Yep.
That beautiful double bottom in Circle. Yeah.
This one right around here.
Yeah. I'm hoping to stay in this, but it's so tempting for me when I get these big moves to take some profit and
It
trail
is.
stops. But I think tokenization, stable coins, to me, that's all that Vlad Tenoff at Robinhood's been talking about lately is the future of tokenization. I really believe in it, and it's especially since it's tied to a real world asset, and especially the whole idea of stable coins is the whole word stable, is that it's tied to something that gives it a 1-to-1 ratio, so it can switch. If the dollar collapses, it can be tied to something else that will keep it stable. It's a really interesting thing. You could do a whole thesis on it. But IBIT is classic. It changed phase. It got better momentum. And now it had leadership against the SPY. It had all the things lined up. Once it cleared that 50-day moving average, all you had to do was get in there, have your stop under the 50 and sit and wait. In this case, of course, you had a Trump administration pump. And
Yeah.
but that's been happening. But more importantly, even if you didn't have that pump, it was obvious that this thing was getting ready to take off based on the rotation, the momentum, the phase, and the outperformance of the SPY.
Great stuff,
Our-
Mish. We always
Thank
appreciate
you.
you coming on, giving us your time here in the morning. Happy face to see. We'll get you back on here real soon. Thank you so much, Mish.
All right. Good morning. Oh, by the way, where's Joel?
Yeah.
He's off today. He's not Joel. Part-time
Yes. I love that
podcaster
you
here.
noticed the half
I
hour
never take
later.
any time off. I'm always here. Actually, that's not true. I'm going to take off Monday, so this might be my
Uh,
first day off.
have a
Like
wonderful day
6
off.
months.
All right. Have
One
a good
day.
weekend.
Bye. Thanks,
Later,
Nick.
Mish.
All right. Bye-bye.
Mish.
All right, Triple D.
Yeah,
We-
I mean, Lots. Like, I love Mish. She's giving you such a broad perspective here because we don't look at commodities that often.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't. And just taking it all the way through to try to get a feel for everything kind of made me feel a little bit more bulled up here too.
Maybe
Let's
it's
take
just
it
Mish
from
though.
yeah.
She's very positive and
And
happy and
that's
awesome.
great. That's what you need
Yeah.
here. Let's take it over to the earnings preview for next week because we have a lot of stocks that are going to be reporting. Obviously, we had Ross Stores last night, which we did mention with Mish, and Ross Stores beat is up $16. This morning we did have BJ Wholesale, and it's trading up as well. And that's kind of our earnings. But next week we get into a lot of earnings. And I mean, there is some guns on this, So we start off with some robotics and obviously EV plays with XPEV. Pinduoduo, a couple Chinese stocks, and they're always, wishy-washy. I do own XPEV in my long-term account, which has been a disaster. We have this hot stocks chips conference. I don't know what that is with NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, and Marvell.
Hot Chips
Yeah,
2026.
Hot chips. Tuesday we get Dix, and we get also a couple banks, Canadian banks, Bank of Montreal, Bank of Nova Scotia, which have pulled back recently from the highs, but these things were on absolute fire before a couple days ago here. Intuit and Zoom in the afternoon. It's Wednesday where it really starts going crazy. The morning, not so much. Kohl's, ANF, and these stocks got hit pretty hard yesterday. Terrible days for Kohl's anyways. But Wednesday night, NVIDIA, CrowdStrike, HPQ, Synopsys, Agilent, CRM, Okta. That is a tech day. There'll be some grenade trades in there for us. There'll be obviously some earnings run-ups trades happening this weekend in some of these. We'll be talking about these over in the think tank. There's going to be some money to be made here if you're on the right side of it all. And we got to hear from NVIDIA because if you were wondering the next move in the overall market, NVIDIA probably is going to dictate it. So it's going to be about charts, but then it's also going to be about NVIDIA earnings on Wednesday. That is huge. Thursday.
Yes.
Thursday, more retailers. Hyperliquid, which has been on fire since the Trumpster ignited that again here. Also, crypto's been moving. Marvell, though, on Thursday night is probably your headliner here. Iron, Autodesk, Affirm, Ulta, Workday. There's a few others, but everybody be watching Marvell. What about from conferences? We have Jackson Hole. We do have our Fed chairman going to speak, I believe, Friday. Is it Friday?
We heard yesterday, Friday at 10 a.m. I don't know if we have confirmation on that, but yes, Friday, 10 a.m.
And he's a quieter guy than Powell. It seemed like Powell was speaking all the time. So when he speaks, it's going to be market moving here as well. So expect that on Friday. So lots of movement, lots going on for basically the last week of August. So maybe dog days of August are over next week, hopefully with NVIDIA, because it's been slow. And people were asking me, isn't a contrarian market good for you? Yes, to a certain extent it is, but it's the volume. So it's not so much the contrarianness that's kind of giving me a crappy month. I'm up this month, but it's been slow. My volume is about half of what it normally is. And it's not that I'm not sitting here. It's that there's not as much action happening. Now, it's picked up in the last couple of days. But, when you've got SPY having its lowest volume day in what they said in years, that impacts me because it means stuff's not moving. I can make money when stocks go up. I can make money when stocks go down. But when stocks sit there and do nothing, that is a tough recipe to make money in. I guess if you're an option writer, you can just slowly rake in premium that way. But, we had the period of for 8-9 days where S&Ps were literally sitting in 50 cent, or we're talking 50 cent ranges on SPY, dollar ranges on SPY in the after hours. Really, really slow. It has picked up a little bit here as of late in the last couple of days with the little sell-off we had in the S&P yesterday, kind of helped it out. So that's a little bit of a positive here. But my profits are basically based more on volatility and volume as opposed to, just sitting back and, riding a trend or something like that. So when volume's down, my profits are going to be down too. And the volume was really light in August.
Fee gave me a heads up that the version that was on screen previously was an old version. So if anybody screenshots this or anything, this is the updated one. But of course, you can also get this info on STNnet. Our X count. Where's my nice banner? Where's Fee's nice banner here?
Has this been tweeted yet?
Has this been tweeted yet?
I'm not sure it's went out yet. So you're seeing it hot off the press here. It might have gone out this morning.
Sweet.
Yeah. So this is next week. Follow us on Stock Trader Net. Not only do you get these, the banners and stuff, what Fee is doing. Michael Feehan's up at 5 a.m. He is breaking news, like ratings that are coming in, earnings that are coming in, corporate actions, whatever information we have going. He is breaking it on this feed. So this Stock Trader Net is a breaking news feed. So you'll want to follow this at Stock Trader Net. I'm following this all the time. I actually wake up in the morning and the first thing I'm looking at is Stock Trader Net because we really, highlight the important things too. So I used to go through, try to find out what's important. Now I can just go to my feed at Stock Trader Net, and Feehan's been working for 2 hours while I've been sleeping because he's over in Spain. He's been working actually, since 5 a.m. or even earlier sometimes, and giving us all this information right here for free, right here on this Twitter account. So follow this Twitter account. It helps us out too. Helps keep the show free, obviously, as well as we get more followers here as well. So at Stock Trader Net, it's breaking news for you guys.
Give us some feedback on it too. Let us know if you're able to use it midday for news. Let us know if there's anything you think we could cover better. We would love to hear everyone's feedback. You can email me, Brent, at stocktradernetwork.com.
We're finalizing our news feed as well, so we are going to eventually be previewing that for the channel here too. We're just in final stages of figuring out getting the bugs out, because when you build a news feed, it inevitably has bugs, and we've had the STN think tank beta trying this for a long time here now. It's getting there. We've had a few issues and a few hiccups here, but we're getting there, and we want to be actually showing this to you guys here too, because our news feed kicks some major butt. It's just got some hiccups. There's always bugs in everything here, but I mean, it's really cool here. We're going to show you this to you guys here, hopefully next week.
And the heart of the news feed is not the feed, it's the team. It's the desk. We have a news desk, folks, on STN, and we are tracking
we have
news throughout the day.
AJ, Feehan working in the background here, trying to find and hunt down the headlines here. We even have a feedback button. If you're asking, you can just hit it too. Like we got to get the button. Why is it moving? We should have that too, and it goes right to our desk. And if somebody's asking, they can't find, we'll go hunting for you. We're trying to write an algorithm, that's going to actually go out there and hunt through everything to try to find why it's moving, because 80% of the time, 90% of the time, stock's moving, you see the reason right away. It's a 10% where you have to dig. You're digging, trying to find out why the stock is moving.
Those are the best ones.
And that's the opportunity there too.
Under the radar ones. Yep.
Under the radar ones, and then finding the sympathy stuff that's not looking at, because the algos are all over the press releases. I mean, they're on them. But it's the other ones where you got to do some digging. That's where there's some opportunity there too. I have traded news for 20 years. So I specialize in trading news. We obviously do this in the think tank. We show it in the think tank all the time. I would say my biggest edge is headline trading. People who tell you can't make money trading headlines are idiots. Seriously, they're idiots. There is so much money to be made trading headlines.
I don't know if we explicitly mention options expiration today, but it is happening today. Did you mention it? Sorry.
No, we're going to get into that now. So obviously we have 2 minutes before the 9 a.m. news dump, so I can just cover. We got some major imbalances here in the morning, but they flip around. On this day, they could go from buys to sell. Right now, they're all serious buys across the board. Okay. Just cherry picking a couple of them here. Okay. You can look Oracle, 100,000 shares to buy. Everybody likes SpaceX, so we might as well look at that one too. Oh, SpaceX is NASDAQ, so that one's not going to be out 9/25. 9:25 is when NASDAQ imbalances come out. New York Stock Exchange starts as early as 8 o'clock. Taiwan Semiconductors actually got a sell imbalance here. We can look, to Disney, 70,000 to buy. Johnson & Johnson, 130,000 to buy. So there's some buy imbalances out here. That doesn't mean they're going to last. They're going to flip around. They're going to do fun things here. But what you need to know is on options expiration, you have a lot of institutions jockeying stock positions against open options positions. And they may be working out of the open, and they're definitely working out at the close. What you see sometimes is some crazy moves on the open, crazy moves on the close. And we try to take advantage of that. As traders that are obviously using information that is publicly available, we try to get, and predict, where these stocks may open or close.
And just pulling up Oracle, we can see the price action. Oh, you know what? I gotta switch to my after hours here, 24-hour. And so you can see some of this price action right here probably was related to that imbalance. TSM is notable because we have, for quite some time, I would say maybe 2 months and a half, we've been seeing a TSM buy imbalance very frequently toward the open. So to see a sell here this morning is just a little out of the ordinary.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean it's going to stay a sell. That's just it. This is a moving target because you have sellers in the market right now. It doesn't mean there'd be one institution. There's 42,000 shares to sell Taiwan Semiconductor. One institution could come in and say, buy me 50. It would flip from 42,000 to 8,000 to buy. So you have big players that come in on these options expiration days. And that's the main point that I wanted to make. So we got a few seconds here before the 9 a.m. news dump. I'm going to help you out with it as they break in here right now.
Cool.
So bear with us here. We're going to give you the 9 a.m. news dump, see if there's anything there. Here we go. 9 a.m. is here.
We are looking for news. Stocks are quiet, by the way. No price action at 9 a.m. news dump on this Friday. Initially looking pretty light. There wasn't a ton.
And Fridays are light. Fridays are always light. There's only like 12. There's usually like 50. So there was nothing really jumping up. BJ Wholesale Club continues Texas expansion. They already reported this morning anyways here.
Yeah. So we're clear. This is what we do, though, folks. It's like I was explaining this. I'm training a new news desker right now, and I was explaining this to the news desker last night. It's like a conveyor belt. It's like the news comes, you got to pull the news off the conveyor belt, and then the next item comes through. So when you see us do these 9 a.m. news dumps, we're working to like, okay, cool. We just got a bunch of new information. We want to make sure we know about the updated information that has just come into the market. Okay, cool. There was nothing there. All right, we're cool. We can go on with our merry way. And we can go on into the SDN think tank, and we're going to wrap it here for this week's episodes of Pre-Market Prep, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for tuning in, Pre-Market Prep family. Everyone have a good weekend. If we don't see you over in the SDN think tank, we'll see you next week.